BigCountryPreps.com. I'm Evan Wren, and this is the Countdown to Two-A-Days series, our daily look at an area football team. The key questions we'll be answering about that team in our August 21st preseason preview here at Big Country Preps. I'm with my partner, Dan Youngblood, via Zoom. And tonight, Dan, we're talking about the Clyde Bulldogs.
A Clyde team that had a great season last year, going 11-2 under Coach Danny Dudgeon, who has since left, but he'll be replaced with someone who he's very familiar with Jonathan Haddock, who they work together as co-offensive coordinators at Cooper. So I would expect quite a few similarities philosophically. So that'll be something to follow for sure this year. Looking at what Clyde's got back this year, 14 of their 34 lettermen returned, 7 offensive and 4 defensive starters from last year's squad. So clearly some holes to fill and some questions to answer. And we'll get into more of those going forward. But I think it's going to be exciting to see kind of what Coach Haddock's first year looks like at Clyde.
All right, before we jump into tonight's edition of the Countdown to Two-A-Days series, we want to remind you YouTubers to please hit the subscribe button. After that, please hit the little bell so you'll get notifications each and every time that Big Country Preps comes up with a new video. Also, we'd like to thank a couple of our sponsors, beginning with For the Love of the Game Broadcasting and our old friend Terry Slavens, owner of KLAX 93.5 FM out of Breckenridge, 97.7 FM KATX out of Eastland, Classic Country AM 1330 out of Graham, 94.7 FM KWKQ out of Graham, KROO 1430 AM out of Breck, and KWBY 98.5 FM out of Ranger. That is For the Love of the Game Broadcasting. Also, Rob Durham, sales consultant at Bear Chevrolet Buick Cadillac up in Breckenridge. If you're in the market for a vehicle, give Rob a shot at 254-559-2266. He's one of the nicest guys you'll ever want to meet. That is Rob Durham up at Bear Chevrolet Buick Cadillac in Breckenridge.
All right. With that, let's go ahead and jump in. Let's talk about these Clyde Bulldogs and some of the biggest questions they face going into the 2024 season. And I think the first one's kind of the elephant in the room. They are losing or have lost rather to graduation, one of the most dynamic quarterbacks the Big Country's seen in a long time, and Blake Carr, a kid who was a massive part of their offense last year. Just a remarkable athlete, a remarkable dual threat quarterback. With his graduation, that's going to leave a little bit of a hole at the quarterback position. One benefit, though, is they've got a kid in Tucker Jones who played quite a bit as a sophomore when Carr went down with a broken hand his junior season. So they do have some experience there with Jones. And they've got a sophomore they like as well, and Devon Wright, who's a kid who's supposed to be a really good athlete. So it'll be interesting to kind of see how that position plays out. That's going to be an important one. The one good thing is they'll have some weapons around them. Josh Hutton's a really quality running back. Kendrick Johnson had over 750 yards receiving last year. So they've got some weapons, but they are going to have to answer that question as to kind of, find that signal caller and kind of see what kind of production they can get there.
All right, my question for them is how seamless will this transition be on the offensive side? Jonathan Haddock, the new coach, was a co-offensive coordinator at Cooper with Danny Dudgeon, the former coach. So if they retain something that's very similar to what they had, it could be a seamless transition offensively.
Yeah, I think that's one of the more interesting developments of the offseason is you got two guys that have, in the past at least, had very similar philosophies offensively. But my last question comes on the opposite side of the football. I think their offense, like I said, they have some weapons. They've got a huge experienced offensive line. So I think they've got an opportunity to be pretty good offensively with 7 starters back. My question is, what will that defense look like with just 4 starters back? They're going to have 7 new defensive starters from guys who were either backups last year or on that 6-4 JV team. So 6-3-1 JV team. So can that defense get the stops it needs, to let the offense go and win games for it? I think that's going to be a really interesting development this year for the Clyde Bulldogs.
All right, now let's take a quick look at Clyde's schedule for 2024. And as usual, the non-district portion is difficult. Clyde never ducks anybody. They always have a tough row to hoe. And here we go again. They're going to open the season at Cisco on August the 30th. They'll face Eastland on September 6th at home. And we'll actually have 3 straight games at home, which helps. Shallowater will come visiting on September 13th, as will Snyder on the 20th, followed by a road date up at Muleshoe on September 27th.
And after that open date, they open district at Breckenridge on October 11th before hosting San Angelo TLCA on the 18th. They follow that with a road game at Sweetwater on the 25th of October before going back on the road to Jim Ned on November 1st, and then they wrap up their district schedule at home November 8th against Comanche. So a really tough schedule, top to bottom. It's going to be fun to see how they navigate this.
Most important game on their schedule. How do you see it?
I'm going to go with that opener at Breckenridge. I think that one's going to, if they can win that one in Breckenridge, I think it's going to set up, give them a chance to go start the district play 2-0, basically punch their playoff ticket right off the bat, and then see what happens against Sweetwater, Jim Net, and Comanche. But I think that opener is going to be a big one.
I agree. And it's going to be on the road. That's going to be at Buckaroo Stadium, so that'll be tough. And with that, it's about time for us to wrap up this edition of the Countdown to Two-A-Days series, the Clyde Bulldogs. But before we do that, a quick reminder, August 21st, that's the big day when we release our preseason football preview here at Big Country Preps. It's the most comprehensive look at high school football in the Big Country area and a little bit outside the area of the Big Country that you're going to find from any media source.
And as he mentioned, our coverage area is growing this year with 5 new schools added to the coverage area. That's Mineral Wells, Glen Rose, Graham, Toller, and Miles. So we are super excited to add those schools to the mix. We hope y'all are excited to follow our coverage of those schools throughout the school year. In the meantime, thank you for joining us for this episode of our Countdown to Two-A-Days series. Make sure you come back tomorrow when we preview the Comanche Indians here at BigCountryPreps.com.